Hello and good afternoon for this 18th episode of Secrets from the Support Vaults.
Season 2.
Season 2? Yeah, no matter. Okay. As you will have already noticed, this is neither David nor Michael who's talking. No. This are two people right from Berlin. Here a nice picture just from a rooftop some houses away from us. Unfortunately, not that sunny today in Berlin. It's me speaking, Mark Heusmann, and just...
Alongside Akash Chaudhary.
Exactly. So, we will talk about shape-based features, which we invented in pdfToolbox 9. And there were already a lot of requests in the last weeks and months regarding how to use that nice feature. And we will show you here within some seconds now how to use that feature for Dielines and how to create varnish and white forms from your existing PDF files. So let's go for Dielines. No lines to die for, but it's of course nice when you can create them easily. And as you know, pdfToolbox, we have the focus of do that as automatically as ever possible.
One more thing, I have my eye on the questions here, so if you have any questions, you can just feel free to post them and I will read that out.
Okay. Yeah, so let's start. Some of you will notice that we have already used this nice packaging or label. No, it's more a label style sheet for demonstration in the past as well. So what do we have here? We have something which is usual in the packaging or labeling industry. We have the content somewhere in the middle, so the orange-blue stuff with some text. And we have around something which is in this file done or has been styled with registration colors so that it will be printed on all sheets. As you will notice, there are almost no boxes visible within the PDF content. When you're now wondering, pdfToolbox can show me boxes. Yes, pdfToolbox can show you boxes. If you have not already seen that, I'll just show you where you can see that or where you can activate that. It's just in the preferences, highlighting, and there you have the visualization of page geometry boxes. You can simply switch them on here, but just as a small side information. So I'll just execute one of my prepared fix-ups, which is called set trimbox based on visible content. That's nothing about Dielines at the moment, but something which we need for the next steps we are going to do. So let's execute that. And as you'll see here in the middle, the trimbox has been derived from the page content, and now you could say, hey, but registration color, why not based on the registration color? In most cases, this is of course not what you want, and if we have a closer look inside the fix-up settings, you will see quite quickly why this happens, why this trimbox is not taking, or this deriving the trimbox is not taking the registration color into account. But just here apply to objects and set there a simple check is not registration color. So pdfToolbox just looks inside the PDF without having an eye on the registration color objects, and therefore it's only created here on that orange rectangle. So now let's play around a little bit with this freshly created trimbox. I'll create a dieline from the trimbox. Let's execute that fix-up. And as you will see, whoop, there immediately is a red box created a little bit within the trimbox. Now you could say, but hasn't that guy just said, I want to create it based on the trimbox and now it is smaller? Okay, let's explain it a little bit more in detail, how I have set up this fix-up. The create and apply shapes fix-up, which is used for this conversion, or for adding content in this case, is a rather complex fix-up. We have, as you see here, two tabs. One is create shapes and the other is apply shapes. The first is dealing where shall the engine derive the shape, or which form or which silhouette shall be used to create a shape. That's the first tab. So we say here now, create shape from trimbox. You have also some other options, other page geometry boxes and some other stuff. I'll explain them later on. And you can now say some additional parameter which are available, and there I have the create shape parameter for adjust size -1 millimeter in that case, which will result then what what we see there on the left hand, that this dieline is created 1 millimeter smaller than the content of the trimbox. Okay, but how is this dieline configured? There we go into the next tab, where we have some other settings available, which are all about how shall that shape which has been created now being used for. What shall happen with this shape, with this figure which we have derived from the page content? We have here the shape usage, stroked shape in front of current page content. Stroke, so that's some kind of line, and in front, we have it on. Want to have it on top of the page content. And if I click on that menu, you see there are some more possibilities. You can also have a stroked shape behind current page content. I'll show you something with that later on. You can also have filled shapes. Also for this we have something nice, which I'll show you in a second. We have a combination of both, and we have also clipping. I'll show you that later on. And we have, of course, and now comes the real big menu, or big dialogue. Sorry for that. This can even become a little bit bigger. Here we have the apply shapes parameters. So here we define how this shape we have derived from the page content shall be visualized. How the new created object shall be, from what it shall be created, how it shall look like. Here we have the source color value in that case, which says 100% magenta. And I have activated here that bottom, that checkbox, create a spot color, defined a spot color name, in this case dieline, because this makes sense, of course, defined the spot color tint value, and some other graphical properties here, like overprinting and so on. And as you see at the bottom, I have also the option to create it on a layer, which is quite useful, especially in packaging and labeling, where layers is a frequently used feature. So let's see if this, what I've shown you here in the settings, have really been applied properly. Let's go first to the layer explorer. We see, okay, there is a dieline, and if I switch it on and off, you see it, that the dieline vanishes. Okay, at least it is on a layer. Let's see if it's really a spot color dieline. Let's go to, let's say spot color separations. What happens here? So here we go. I'll move the window a little bit beside. So let's see we see at least that we have here, besides some other spot colors, we have also a spot color here down dieline. And when we go now to individual separations and switching to dieline, we will see here within the trim box that we have only this dieline spot color rectangle, which has been created in that file. There are stuff around is of course shown as its registration color, and would also end up of course on the dieline plate. But we don't have to take care about that. Normally dielines are used for other purposes. So let's play around a little bit more with this nice feature. you would say now, okay, yeah, but this pdfToolbox 10 filter, that shall become a label. And I don't like these very sharp edges. That gives problems in production. I want to have rounded corners for that. So, okay, I'll grab the file with the trimbox again, and we have also prepared something for this use case where you to create round corners. So let's, I think you will, or at least I hope you trust me that it will really produce something, but let's see. So now you see, okay, here are rounded corners. But now, well, okay, why is it dashed? I was just playing a little bit around with the settings of this fixer. Let's see what I have changed here. I simply added rounded corner 2 millimeters, so as a radius, so that this becomes rounded. And to make it, yeah, in this way, something like dash, no dash, dash, no dash, I added some more information inside these apply shapes parameters. Let's see it. I have here the set dash line dash pattern method, which says here in brackets 3, 1, which means 3 steps with a line, 1 without a line. So you could also make it a little bit more complicated. So dash, small dash, long dash, small dash, whatever. You can all, this can be created easily here in this area. So let's see what we have also here. Now you can say, okay, nice, I have a dieline, but the creator of this file has forgotten to create a varnish form for that. This is something which we want to have in production so that it has this glossy varnish on it. I have prepared here, create varnish for printed content excluding white areas. So let's see what happens here when I execute this file. 3A. The fix-up is applied, and you see immediately that everything I have painted, I've given this varnish a green alternate color space so that we can see something. Normally a varnish is of course transparent, so we would not see that, but to make it a little bit more clear, I made it green. So now you can see almost all content has become greenish, except here these white areas, because there we don't want to have varnish. Also, only the printed area shall become glossy in this case. And as you will notice, also the text don't have a varnish on it. Yeah, because this is according to the settings, as you see here, maybe at the edges of that area, I made it slightly smaller to avoid registration problems. And therefore, as this small distance is so big, so to say, that it would not lead into something on the text, it's simply not on the text, because the text is simply too thin for being covered with a varnish. That can of course be activated as well, so that would not be a problem. So let's play around a little bit more. Now you would say, yeah, but I want to have it for production reason, I want to have it fully covered. Of course, this is also possible. When we can exclude things, we can of course also include stuff. So let's say 3B. What happens here? The fix-up is executed, and now you see everything within the trim box is now covered with that varnish stuff.
I think you did not show the fix-up, the inside of the previous fix-up.
Okay, so let's see what I have changed here exactly. Let's go to the exclude. So what happens in the exclude white areas one? We have now here in the create shape area, we have now the from tracing page content excluding white area selected. There's also the including white area possible. What does that mean? What means tracing? So we create some kind of pixel image out of the content. And then we trace that. So we are deriving a vector form based on this image we created out of the printing page content. And this resulting vector form is then inserted into the PDF, so that you have in the resulting PDF file you have only one vector object, which is there either a stroke or a fill, or when you want to have both, of course both. So you have one, for example, vector object which defines the dieline, so that the cutter or so can go there to cut out the printed product. Or in this case, for the varnish, you have one vector object, in this case colored with a spot color name varnish. Let's see if I have configured that correctly. Here you see it. It's a varnish for either for the fill and for the stroke in this case. So it's a filled and stroke vector object which covers almost all the printed content. And now in your production you can simply create a plate for adding the varnish in your printing machine or in the post-processing afterwards, based on this new varnish separation. So let's see what I have also here prepared. Barcode area. When we have a closer look inside the file, I just open the unvarnished file again. Here we have, let's see, inverse separations I wanted to go. So here we have this area on the right hand side. Hopefully you have seen that before. So regular page view. You have this grayish area, and this is an indicator from a technical perspective where later on a barcode shall be printed in by, let's say, a laser or inkjet printer for the individual production number or minimum until when it expires or so on. And when we have a look here, we see the barcode area, which is just here, this area here of the label, where varnish shall not end up, because it would result in some printing problems. As you may know, printing on some varnish isn't that easy. So you can also exclude it, this area. So let's execute that fix up here, and the resulting file will look like this. Everything is covered except the barcode area. How does that work? We have simply in the create shapes two settings. One is from tracing the page content, including the white areas in this case, and one from the trimbox. So I limit it to the trimbox, and from tracing page content, here I say spot color names contains barcode. Now we would say, sorry, but the barcode is in the trimbox. But I set here render only outside shape. So the one create shape from trimbox, create this big, let's try to move it a little bit around here so that I can explain it a little bit better. So the one creates a big form and has the setting render inside shape. So everything inside the trimbox is rendered on behalf of the one setting. The other setting is taking on everything which is outside a defined area, so the area which is covered by barcode, into account, and is somehow, can I say, deducted from the trimbox areas somehow. So, and I hope this makes clear that these two settings, one defines a bigger area, the other defines a smaller area within this area, namely this barcode area, and this is then deducted from the trimbox areas. And this is the reason why this area remains unvarnished. So, enough of varnishes and deducting areas from each other. Let's go to the next file. I think I want to no, I just wanted to show you something else with this file maybe. We have seen another setting there. There I said I'll explain you later on. There was also, maybe remember this, in this create shape or apply shape setting, clip existing page content. This can be useful when you want to limit the visual stuff for some purposes. Let's imagine you want to send a file to the marketing department of your customer, and the customer always gets confused by all the other content which is on this technical view of a document. So let's simply kick it out, make it invisible. And this is possible also with the create and apply shapes fix-up. So when I execute this, for example, you see everything outside of this dieline is now white. It's clipped away, which makes it easier for some non that technical customers which are using maybe only Acrobat Reader or some other PDF viewing software which don't show trim boxes and all these other stuff. Simply show this is how your cutted label will look afterwards. Or when you even want to make it more visible to, let's say, the designer, what's maybe the problem in the file. Let's say here, this white text here at the bottom is a little bit too near to the dieline, and your layouter don't understand what you mean. You can simply also create some kind of grayed out visualization. So here, is what I mean. It's too near to that grayed out area. So you have a lot of varieties there in cropping, clipping, or in this case, covering page outside, in this case, outside of this dieline. So we can also derive from page objects new forms which can not only be used for, let's say, a varnish or a dieline, but also to cover or clipping other content.
We have a question.
Sure.
So is the content really clipped, or if my German is good enough to understand this question?
Is the content overpainted or really removed? Is der Content nur übermalt oder wirklich entfernt? No, in this case it's really a clipping path. So we really inserted a clipping path, so everything is just clipped away on a visual way. We haven't removed that. If you would now remove that clipping path somehow in the PDF, we have a fix-up for that, of course. pdfToolbox has fix-ups for almost everything. The content would become visible again. You could, if you want to make sure that objects which are now completely outside of that clipping, you could, of course, run an additional fix-up which removes completely invisible objects. We have several fix-up for that, and you could also, of course, set derive, or you could also now derive the crop box, for example, based on this visual content afterwards, after you've set the clipping path, or you could set it immediately. That would also be, of course, possible. I hope this makes it clear. Okay,
The question is answered.
Okay, thank you. Let's switch to another one. Let's go for, let's say, a cover of a yogurt. And what we don't see in pdfToolbox, that's the only stuff which we miss here now in pdfToolbox, where we have to switch to Acrobat. You see it here. Acrobat has this nice, when I zoom a little bit in, you see it even better, this nice transparency view. And as you see, there is literally no white background there. It's simply placed on a blank page, like you have it in most designing software like InDesign or Quark Express. It's simply placed there. And why do I explain this for you? I'll show you in a second. So, as you can imagine, for let's say, like it's usual in Germany, you have this aluminium foils for sealing a yogurt, and when you imagine you want to print these colors on aluminium, it will become shiny. It will become the aluminium metallic look will shine through, and this is of course something a customer may not want. But in this area, this aluminium shall shine through for some special design purposes. But your designer forgot to add white background behind the area where, let's say, this yellowish color is and where this text is, but you have to add it there. That it is not shiny, not a metallic look. And we have something for this as well. We have create white background, which is also based, of course, on the create shape feature. And when you execute this, let's say fix, you will see that you will see nothing, because adding a white background will not end up in something. But when we, let's say, switch to Acrobat again with that file, you will hopefully see it if I zoom a little bit more in. You can imagine that it's something here. You see it there already, that something is behind that visible pane. And when I switch now off all process colors and switch on the slogan text and so on, and go back to the whole page, you immediately see, okay, there is now something which is white in this case, so the white form underneath of the real printing page content. And this use case is also the reason why we have this settings here, this setting here in our fixer. You may remember we have there this setting in the apply shapes, filled shape behind current page content, because otherwise the white would sit on top of this. We can, let's just try it out just for fun. When we switch that, I haven't tried that out, hopefully it works. When we save that, create white background, and now we put it not on the back but on the top. You see the page is almost white here, some small, shines a little bit through, but that's the reason why we have here the settings set on top, set on front. It might be useful for some technical issues in the packaging industry to define where this newly created shape is created on. So, as time runs, we have almost talked for half an hour. Let's do something friendly at the end. You get something from your customer. Please print 500 times. Damn. Okay, you want it not as a rectangular, not as in quadratic form as in this case, but round, of course. This nice circle. I already derived in this phase, as you can see, the art box. You could also do it by yourself. But in this case, we have an art box there. But how shall I create now a circle out of a rectangle? And as we say in German, das Runde muss ins Eckige, the round muss into the circle. No, the round muss into the rectangular. Akash, thank you for smiling. Okay, so let's create a circle based on the art box. How does that work? Let's see if I'm not kidding, if it really creates some kind of circle. At least pdfToolbox says that it has created something. Let's see if this is really the case. So show individual separations. And we have now here a cut line. At least it says so. Let's have a look in this cut line. Oh yeah, there is a line. We don't see it as this cut line is on top of something black. Okay, sorry for that. And as you can see, it all matches perfectly inside of that art box. How does that work? It works for quadratic stuff, of course, only, and it has simply to do something with rather simple mathematics. Let's have a look. We say from Artbox, render only inside shape. Yeah, but this would create something which is of course rectangular, because all the Artbox is filled with yellow. Let's see, we have here the setting rounded corner. We have seen that before already, but now you see there is a JavaScript variable inside. What does this variable do? This variable simply says it derives, in this case, the Artbox size, a variable. It creates a new variable and then says Artbox, dimension of Artbox top, and subtracts the Artbox of the bottom. As you will know, the coordinate of a PDF starts in the lower left corner in this case. So we go here, say which is this value, asking for that, and then going deducting the lower value from that. This gives us the size of the Artbox in vertical direction, and then we just divide it by 2. So let's see the evaluation results. We see it here. The Artbox size in this case, that's unfortunately always points, is 252 points high, and then we divide it by 2, which gives us another value. And now I adjust the size by -1, so I make it a little bit smaller. You may ask why -1. I'll show you in a second, because I create this line width of the shape with 2, so as it would exactly be positioned on the corner, or at this rectangular, on the middle of the rectangular line. So it is 1 point outside and 1 point inside, and to have it just inside, I just made it -1, so it's half of the line width of the newly created line, so it's rather a little bit smaller, and that's how it works to create a circle out of a quadratic form. I hope I have made it clear. Have you understood it? Okay, at least he understood that. So
that means everybody would have understood it.
Oh no, okay. So that was what I wanted to show you today about creating dielines and creating varnishes out of rectangulars and other forms. Okay, that's it for today from Berlin. Thank you for attending. We will